Hi BookTube, it's Stephanie. So today I decided to film a more talky videos about I can't really call it a trope, like a writing technique or storytelling technique that I have examples for like 4 different ways that this has been done and what I thought about each and every single one of them. And that is the trope in which when you're following a character, present day, and then you get glimpses in what it was like a couple of years ago or millennia ago or whatever. Yeah, none of these are like millennia ago, but you get these glimpses of what was it like a couple of years ago. This is different from a trope or a writing, storytelling technique where you are following 2 different characters in different centuries. Because that was basically how I started to think about this when I ran through my entire I Need to Read You books and put them on a spreadsheet, because I noticed that I actually have quite a lot of those books, and I was like, why have I bought so many? I don't like this. And then I started to realize that no, that part I haven't read too many of, but this version, when it's the same person that we are following back, that I have read several more books. So yeah, basically I just felt like talking about it because I found it interesting myself. So as I said, I have examples. One I can't for the life of me find anywhere, and I don't think I've decluttered it yet. I did look in my you will be on haul pile, but it wasn't there, and I had this image that I had at least planned to give it a second go. Whatever. Other than that, I read the other examples of this list 100% through. So yeah, let's just start with it. And for each of these books, I will not really give you any synopsis because that's not the point. The point is the storytelling technique. So the first example, and as you might have understood, for me, I need to give it a second go, or at least try a second go. I DNF'd this, and that was The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. This is set in our world in which we are following a character who made a deal several years ago, and we are going back and forth from the past and today when things are happening. As I said, not long synopsis, look them up yourself if you're interested. Now, I DNF'd this, and the reason for that was because I found it extremely choppy. In this, the structure was that the chapters kept taking turns on which timelines we had. So chapter 1, present day, chapter 2, 5 years ago. I don't really remember how long ago, but something like that. My issue, and the reason why I stopped picking it up because I was so frustrated, was that each chapter was like 2 to 3 pages. So it was extremely choppy, and I didn't care. I just got more and more frustrated because I didn't learn anything about characters in either timeline. I didn't learn who she was today and who she was back then, and that was really frustrating, and I just could not be bothered after a while, so I put it down. I doubt that I made it past 50 pages, and I tried to go to 50 pages or 100 pages at least, just in case, but I couldn't. It was no. So the sharpness of the way that storytelling technique was used was definitely not my cup of tea. The second one I have here is more, well, I have the sequel. And obviously it's the first book that has this. I have yet to know if the sequel has it, but I'm borrowing this from the library. And the one I'm holding up is Ancillary Sword by Anne Leckie. I'm talking about Ancillary Justice, which is the first book. In that one, it actually has the same kind of structure as Darkest Part of the Forest, because each chapter we go back in time several years, and then present day we are following, what was her name? Breck. And yeah, this is the sci-fi. We are following a artificial intelligence that used to be an entire ship with multiple of these human android thingies, think slightly Borg, and the ship was destroyed and she's the only one left. Yeah, and the reason why this one worked better than the first one was because the chapters were longer. So I got more of an image of the character, about the environment around. I started caring about characters in the past, and obviously I didn't at the time know exactly what happened, but based on the emotions and things that that break had today, I could kind of figure things out, what had happened. For me, that was done way better. I still had to struggle the first half of the book because, as I said, one chapter here, one chapter there, one chapter there. It was really, yeah, it was slightly struggling, but it was done better, so I felt like I pushed through a little bit, but I didn't feel such a distaste to pick it up, and I didn't feel like I was jumping too much because I had time to learn about the characters and what happened. And then one that I finished last year, and that is Vicious by V. Schwab. And this one also has that trope for like the first half-ish part of the book. A little bit more maybe, I don't remember how long it went, but then that stopped. Vicious is, we are following two friends, well, they used to be friends in college. One gets the other one thrown in prison and he wants revenge. And we get these glimpses of what they did back in the day. For me, this worked because it wasn't too long we did that, and the sections of memory were also not too big. This one didn't really have the chapter build up, so we didn't really have, there's something wrong with my throat and I have no idea why, but yeah, this did the same thing. It went back and forth in the beginning. The sections weren't long, especially in the beginning. It was a little bit choppy and I literally went, oh no. But then as we go through, these turn more into glimpses, like we see things quickly and then we go back, and it ends pretty quickly, and then we go through a section where we don't really get much of it, and then we get into that again when we get introduced more into Eli's point of view. But yeah, this one did it better in that way for me because it wasn't too much, and also because of the fact that when you read the synopsis you find that out immediately. I think that since I was prepared I didn't struggle as much, and it might even have helped that this was a buddy read, so maybe that helped, so that I didn't feel too much like In the Darkest Part of the Forest. But definitely a little bit similar in how this started. As I said, I DNF'd that one. It might have turned out great. But this one, yeah, it tapered out and then it brought it back in because we were with new characters. So it wasn't like we constantly had the same person with the same memories. And also it was really focused on just the memories that had to do with the situation, how they turn into the extraordinaries or the exos. It didn't go in too much into everything else. So yeah, prefer that one. So this one for me was easier to read than Ancillary Justice because it wasn't going as much in depth, but you didn't really feel like you needed to for some reason. And the last one, which has to be my personal favorite in how this storytelling technique was used, and that is The Wolves of Winter by Tyrell Johnson. In this one, it's nuclear winter, plague or disease that kills off a lot of people, and Alaska Wilderness and things like that. I liked it. It got a good grade. Now, this one, the main character that we're following, what's her name? So in this one we are following Lynn. She's the main character, it's from her point of view. And this one did it differently. This one starts with today, she's hunting, and then it continues on with the story, and the more closer to the end we get, the more glimpses of the past we get. So in the beginning it's she picks something up, for instance, and then she gets like a flashback that's like 1 or 2 paragraphs, that's it. And then it goes through like that to the book, and the further on in the story we get, the more of these flashbacks we get. And I loved that way. For me it was so much easier because I learned who she was, and then we got these glimpses that helped explain things when they came up, or after they came up, like this is what she remembered because of that situation. And I felt that was way more, for me, effective, because it made me care so much more. And since I already cared about Lynn, I cared more when those memories came up, and it made me basically have more of an emotional response, unlike, I would say, all of them. This was the one that for me had the most effect when it comes to emotions. So I would actually argue, now again, I haven't finished The Darkest Part at first because I got so frustrated, but I would say that that one and this one probably, maybe, is like the total opposites. That one had a lot of these sharpy memory glimpses in the beginning. This one had those more at the end, and I definitely preferred the end part. Now, as I said, this is a storytelling technique in which you are explaining a character's point of view, actions, or feelings towards something with getting glimpses from the past. And as I said, I have 4 examples. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. My favorite way was definitely The Wolves of Winter, but of these 4 books, well, of these 3 books that I actually finished, the one that I would say is my favorite of them is Vicious, because it is. But as a storytelling technique, I definitely prefer the way it was done in The Wolves of Winter. And yeah, have you read any books that have that storytelling technique in which you go back in the same character's point of view? Because I found it really interesting when I looked through my shelf of how many books I had that had 2 separate timelines, but we are following 2 different characters and there's like centuries in between them. And then I started thinking that I haven't really read that many books of that trope, so why do I have so many of them? Trope, storytelling technique, but I have specific feelings about this specific storytelling technique. I don't really know, I just wanted to talk about it, and now I have. Have you thought anything about this? And if you have or recognize it, what's your favorite way that they are doing it? Because let's face it, just because my favorite is when it comes at the end, when I already care about the characters, for some of you, you might be, well, that's how I get to care about the characters, because I have learned what they have been through in the past. Yeah, please tell me down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.